Hey guys, I am here to talk about March, the things that I've read and the things that I've watched too. I thought that it would maybe be better to kind of include them all together instead of doing dedicated videos. Let's get started. I think March is arguably the best month of the year. It is my birthday month, after all. So this month I read 3 books and 1 novella, and I sadly DNF'd 2 books. So I read 2 3-star books, 1 3.5-star, and 1 4-star. I read a total of 1,961 pages. 1 of them was fantasy, 1 was historical fiction, 1 was sci-fi, and 1 was horror. So that was a pretty wide range of genres. I also watched 1 noteworthy series and 1 noteworthy movie, and several not so noteworthy things. Here's looking at you, Roadhouse. But we'll get to those later. Let's go ahead and talk about the things that I read this month. And we will talk first about You'll Find. This was the first book that I read in March. This is by Sam Middleton, who is a self-published author. I gave this book 3 stars because I found the premise to be pretty unique and engrossing, though the execution ultimately fell a little bit short for me in some areas. Most notably the character development, as the characters were pretty static. They mostly remained the same from start to finish, just kind of fulfilling their role within the plot and not really achieving any growth or fulfilling any desires or needs. It's hard for me to empathize with characters like this, and so that detracts ultimately from the story for me. And also I felt like there were a bit of info dumpy portions that felt unnecessary and repetitive at times. Though for a debut novel, I would still recommend this book to lovers of fantasy in general, for the simple fact that the premise was tons of fun and full of action. You give it a try if you want. I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited. The second book that I read was Labyrinth by Kate Moss. This is a historical fiction with some fantastical elements and a dual timeline story. I gave this book 3 stars. The plot focuses on the Crusades that occurred in France back in the early 13th century. It is full of well-researched and factual occurrences, as well as highly descriptive setting. It often felt as though I were actually back in 1209 while I was reading this, enjoying the daily life of a young French woman. While that was pleasant most of the time, it also detracted from the story because the first 300 pages were a slog. It was heavily laden with description. It really took a while for the plot to get moving. The third book I read was The Abyss Beyond Dreams by Peter F. Hamilton. I gave this sci-fi book 3.5 stars. I really enjoyed the aliens and the technology in this world. They felt fresh and intriguing, and I really appreciated the author's discussion on time and aging, on civilization and humanity's nature. The thing that weakened this book for me was the heavy emphasis on politics. I would say at least half of this sci-fi book takes place in a society that deals with heavily on the political workings at play. So if that doesn't bother you, I do highly recommend this book, for it is a one-of-a-kind sci-fi based on the ideas around space travel and time and the future of humanity. The 4th book I completed was a novella, and that was The House on the Borderlands by William Hope Hodgson, written in 1908. This is a horror story about 2 fishermen who find a madman's journal in a rundown haunted town. This I gave 4 stars for its ability to shock me and unsettle me with its weirdness. It was surely ahead of its time since it was written in 1908, and it often reminded me of like Stephen King or Peter Straub for its weirdness. The 2 DNFs. They were both by Penelope Douglas. One was Falls Boys and the second was Hideaway. Falls Boys, I knew within a few pages that it just wasn't gonna work for me. And Hideaway, I got to about the 30% mark and put it down because it just wasn't vibing with me, the characters or something. I've had success reading from Douglas before, her romances, but I guess it maybe just wasn't the right time or the right book. I'm not sure. Hideaway was actually book 2 in a series, and it's called The Devil's Night series. And I had read book 1 previously, and I did really enjoy it. The characters were very interesting. I very much enjoyed their perspectives, but this one I don't know, I didn't connect with the characters as much. So ultimately I had to put it down. Now on to what I watched. Among other things, there were 2 standouts for the month. One was Constellation on Apple TV.
I miss you so much.
I miss you too, Mama. Will you be careful out there?
Always.
Mama?
Astronauts go through things they don't understand. That's when people come unstuck.
That was not me. Mama?
Where is she?
Who?
You! I need to go back to her. Do I seem the same to you?
I just don't feel like you're my mom.
That is a series. And the second is The Covenant, which is on Amazon Prime. Constellation is a sci-fi series with mind-bending alternate realities that butt heads after a failed NASA experiment on the International Space Station. And while it was a bit confusing at first, this show kept me intrigued and surprised because I never knew where the story was going to go. It was creepy and complex, just the way I prefer my sci-fi. I highly recommend. The movie that I watched was The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Be a pain in the ass.
No, not me, sir. Money isn't the reason he wants this job. It's Alabama killed his son. Well, I won't back down.
For 3 weeks, this family believed you were dead. We owe that man your life.
A hook in me. Ahmed and his family are in trouble.
We can't intervene.
I am gonna have to get him out myself. Think I have a choice? There is no choice.
This is semi-based in fact and centers around the relationship between a soldier and the interpreter hired by the army to work with them when they are in Afghanistan on missions searching for explosives. At this time during the war, there were translators who were offered visas to the US in exchange for their service, which also put their lives and the lives of their families in danger. So in this movie, Gyllenhaal's character is wounded in battle, and him and the translator are the only ones who survive, and after he gets wounded, he is unable to walk, to move, and so the translator carries him back to the safety of the base. And once he's there, Gyllenhaal's character is out of it, and so he doesn't know what happens to the translator, and it's all about this bond that they form and the missions that they undertake. This movie was outstanding. It's action-packed, but also, like I said, it really is character-driven at the same time because it dives deep into the bonds that are formed between these two characters. I felt all the feelings watching this. Editing me here to end this video. I originally filmed my wrap-up and my April TBR together, and after editing through, I think I'm going to separate them. So in the magic of technology, go check out my April TBR in the next video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.